Part 1, Understanding your social value. So what exactly is social value? Well, it's defined as the good your business creates beyond making money for people, places, and planet. So it's not in isolation or in replacement of economic value that your business generates. It should run in tandem with the economical side of your business. So just as you have the economic value that you put forward on your annual accounts, what's the equivalent of that on your social accounting? What are you doing to generate that social impact that aligns with your business values? So before we delve a bit deeper into you understanding your social value for your own organization, I just wanted to give you a wider context of why it actually matters, and what the drivers for social value, so that you understand the wider context of why you are doing social, why you need to start monitoring social value in your organization. So one of those is the legal and regulatory requirements for it. So if you're intending to work with the public sector, so that's local authority, NHS, Department for Work and Pensions, Department of Education, um, Metropolitan Police, any of those larger organisations, there will be some form of requirement to demonstrate social value, and that's underpinned by the UK public sector procurement under the Public Services Social Value Act of 2012 and the Procurement Act 2023, ensuring that contracts consider economic, social, and environmental well-being as part of their proposal. There's also the ethical, moral, and equality inclusion laws that come with this. So organisations are ethically and legally obligated to promote fairness, inclusion, and non-discrimination under the Equalities Acts of 2010. There's ultimately also a strategic business decision, and hopefully throughout this presentation, you'll see what that strategic business decision, business case for it within your own organisation. So, but in essence, embedding social value into your business strategy is driven by regulatory expectations and accountability, especially for public sector suppliers to comply with procurement laws, enhance reputation, workforce engagement, and competitiveness. And we're also seeing this trickle through into the private sector. So, especially through their reporting. So, they want to demonstrate that they are working with organizations who are socially minded, who deliver a great impact to enable them to, the A, aligns with their values, but also to ensure that they're also delivering on their impact as well. And then ultimately, there is this huge shift from society as a whole, and the cultural shift of the landscape that we live in, where it's more driven by people, which is great. So social and environmental expectations from communities and consumers, we're a lot more conscious of what we're buying, who we want to support, where we want to spend our money, and our values. And so all of this should really link back into your values. So it shouldn't be in addition of, it should really complement what you're already doing. So we spoke on a previous slide about the drivers of social value, mainly through the lens of legal and regulatory requirements. And I don't know about you, but whenever I see new laws, regulations, or policies specifically pertaining to small business, I absolutely just want to scream, because it just means more business admin, or badmin, as I refer to it, that I have to do in order to just keep on running my business. But equally, that takes me away from doing the things that I truly enjoy doing. And this is really indicative of experience of many founders, solo founders out there. But I'm here to tell you that actually this is one of those regulations that really work in our favor. And the reason I say that is that by definition, small businesses are already delivering impact within our daily operations. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, if you look at the SWOT analysis, so strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, instinctively people may go to, oh, this is a weakness, oh, I can't do this, I don't know how to do this, etc. And this is a threat. Well, it's a threat that if you can't deliver, then you possibly can't be able to work with these public organizations. Well, actually, I want you to look at it from a strength and an opportunity, because you're by being positioned already delivering this, that's a strength. And then the opportunities are absolutely out there for you to just go and seize. They are limitless in terms of how you communicate what you're doing, but also how you can work with organizations to collaborate and deliver these at much more at scale, but also much more impactful as well. The other aspect of that is being agile and responsive. So there's no greater demonstration of that than if we look at or cast our minds back to the pandemic, which was a real, turbulent time for many people. But when we look and we look back on that period, we'll see that a lot of those solutions or a lot of those responses came from small businesses. It was the small businesses in those communities that had to make those adaptations in order to meet local needs. And so those vital local needs of keeping people safe, keeping people fed, and keeping people connected, small business did that. And so we have the ability to be able to have that agility, but also respond at pace. And that's really vital, especially in this day and age when things are working at such a pace, that who do we go to in order so that, life can still carry on and things can still carry on. And very often and not, it is those small businesses, it is those local community champions as well. Moving along, we know that small businesses, entrepreneurs have strong local ties. So seldom may you be, it's not all small organizations, but in the main, you're not in a big, massive office. You're probably operating from a local workspace, you're in some kind of community space, you're in the community where there's an ecosystem of similarly minded individuals like yourself. And that's where you're actually, that's your base, that's where you're located. But moreover than that, you know the local community and that local community know you. So that's really powerful because you have reach and you have access and you're entrenched in those communities. But if you look just slightly alongside that, what that also demonstrates is that you've got trust in those local communities. That not only do they know you as this service provider, but also they trust that the service that you're providing will meet their needs. And so that's vital. And so look at that as an asset to your business alongside your reach and your ability to connect in as well. I'm going to just slightly just turn this, the next example from a personal perspective. So with small businesses, we create a value-driven culture. I know when I started RedBorder, it was very much about championing the spirit of entrepreneurs. It was really about, just rooting for anyone who wants to determine their own economic prosperity, but moreover for those individuals who have got that gumption, who have seen a problem and not only think to themselves that it needs to be addressed, but they're also the ones that needs to address it. And I think when you have those people within those communities, they need to be supported, they need to be championed, and they need to be elevated so that they can continue to do more of that work. So whether I'm doing it, I do this work for myself, or whether I do it in the guise of working as an employee for a local authority or any other type of organization, the work that I do has always been around supporting small businesses, and predominantly my focus is always on how can I make life easier for small businesses in the programs that I deliver and scope, ensuring that they have the right resources, they have the right support they need, ecosystem around them to allow them to focus on the things that matter most to them. And the chances of that is that what matters most to them isn't like being bogged down with admin. The other side to that, and the final point on the positioning of small businesses, is that by virtue, we are innovative problem solvers. We solve problems. The chances of you starting your business is probably you've seen a gap in the market and you believe that you can deliver on that solution. And so that's the flexibility of it. But that's in a nice kind of environment. What happens when something like the pandemic occurs and the environment isn't as rosy? Well, you're also able to utilize those skills to problem solve, to address local needs, and you can do so at such a speed that possibly wouldn't be available to you if you're in a much larger organization. So this is all assets that you've got. These are all, practical things that you can do within your organization and work at such a pace. And so these are all things that you can leverage as part of your social value as well. So we talked about the drivers and the positioning of social value. Now let's move on to the benefits of social value to your business. Ultimately, how will this benefit your business? Why should you do it? So there's the financial and commercial aspects of this. So by demonstrating social value, it enhances your competitiveness, attracts aligned customers, secures contracts and funding, and supports sustainable future-ready growth. And so this widens the possibilities than you previously would have had with just having commercial focused conversation. The social impact and social value conversations allow for a wider conversation around what impact looks like. And this can then link into your commercial conversations. And so by that, what I mean is that having a contract that is just 1 year and then expecting to deliver meaningful impact isn't aligned. So what you're able to say is that actually we should be looking at a longer term contract, 3, 5 year contracts, that if you really want to see that impact, if it's really meaningful work that those partners are looking to do, that actually contracts should be looked at in a longer term rather than a shorter term view. And so that allows for those impacts to really be realized by the people who need to realize it the most. But then you're able to see the impact of that work. So then you're now able to have, through the lens of a commercial conversation, you're now able to widen the scope of that conversation by introducing social value into the conversation to say, actually, yeah, okay, this is the economic impact, but what about the social impact? And we'll be able to achieve this social impact by longer term investment. The other aspect or the other benefit to it is the social and community. Social value builds trust, and we spoke about it briefly on the previous slide. But it builds trust, it strengthens community ties, promotes inclusion and well-being, and generates positive local economic impacts. And so this is important. And so whilst, yes, you are there to deliver commercial interests or to have some form of commercial interest within that local community, all the work you're doing along the way is building trust in those communities. And in this day and age where we don't even know, we can't even trust our news sources, it's important that we have trusted individuals, community leaders, organizations that are the go-to for the truth. And small businesses can really position themselves as that within communities. Sure. The other aspect to that, or the other benefits, is the workforce and culture. Purpose-driven practices boost staff engagement, retention, talent attraction, and skills development. And so in an age where, yes, we do have technology, we have AI, but people still crave human connections and people still need jobs. But how are you as an organization are going to secure the best talent to deliver that want to do the work that you want to do? And so by demonstrating how you're solving local issues, which invariably they may know someone who's impacted by the work, who's positively impacted by the work that you're doing, proximity to the issues that your work actually solves or addresses might be quite close for that employer or employee. So it's important that you not only look at this from an external perspective, but the people who, want to come and work with you. And that could be, across the board, from your employees to your freelancers to just anyone in your supply chain. It's quite vast. So your social value precedes you and tells people who you are as an organization. And so by by them being able to see that, but not only see it, but live it and breathe it, it gives them a sense of self-satisfaction, which invariably means that you've got loyal staff or you're building a trusted, loyal workforce, which in this day and age is quite hard to not only build, also to maintain as well. The other benefit is the environmental. Implementing social value reduces environmental impact, promotes sustainable resource use, and strengthens environmentally responsible brands. So we know that sustainability is a huge driver for social value and social impact. And there's a lots of work that goes on around how businesses, small businesses, both in terms of the founder, but also the business operation, can contribute to the incremental reduction of, um, use of carbon, of our carbon footprint. And so, how are you using that in your organization? And I think sometimes, as small businesses, we think we're too small to make an impact. But the chances are, and actually, if everyone makes an incremental, a small change, then it makes the bigger change. So it's never too small to make a positive impact. But what is important is that you then record it, so that you know what small impact you're making. So then over the year, over a period of time, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, you can see that accumulated into something much more bigger. But the small impacts do lead to bigger impacts when you look at it cumulatively. And then finally, another benefit is the strategic and decision making. Measuring and understanding social impact improves decision, aligns purpose with profit, and strengthens reputation and ensures accountability. So this is about embedding it into your business. Also, by measuring it, what it allows you to do is really see where you can innovate and where you can elevate, and be really curious about your business. How can you do things better? And so it not only allows you to be really focused on aligning your values and delivering on those values and keeping you on track, but also it allows you to elevate and innovate as you continue to grow and scale your business. So just to summarize and continue on from the benefits of social value, a small and medium-sized enterprise competitive advantage when it comes to social value is you're best positioned to win contracts. Social value boosts tender success. It allows you to stand out. Purpose-driven companies get noticed. It attracts customers. Values-aligned buyers choose you. And that's who you want to work with, people who align with your values, right? It allows you to retain talent. Meaningful work keeps staff. And it allows you to future-proof, so compliant, ESG, ready for growth, which is all important as part of your business life cycle. Understanding what is social value, frequently asked questions. Do we actually create social value, or is it just for charities and CICs? So do SMEs create social value, or is it just for charities and CICs? Yes, most SMEs already create social value through how they employ people, support customers, spend locally, operate responsibly. It just often hasn't been labeled or articulated as social value before. Question 2, if we're not measuring it formally, does it still count as social value? Absolutely. Social value exists whether or not it's measured. Measurement simply helps you evidence, explain, and communicate the impact you're already making. Does social value have to be big or innovative to be meaningful? No. Social value is about the difference your organization makes. The small everyday actions like inclusive hiring, local sourcing, flexible working can create powerful and meaningful impact. I hope you enjoyed that section on understanding your social value. Up next, we have a little activity for you, which will enable you to get to know your social value. Enjoy, and I'll see you on the other slides.